everybody. Today we're going to be talking about three major marks: the service mark, the trademark, and the use of the circle R, which is for a registered trademark. So if you've watched my other videos, you can probably gather that the ultimate goal in this whole trademark scenario is that you obtain a trademark registration certificate, which allows you to use the circle R at the end of your trademark name or service mark name. But lots of people see these different symbols around town without necessarily knowing what they mean. So I'm here to explain to you what each of those is. So let's start with the circle R because that's the easiest for everybody to understand, and it's the one that everybody sees the most. Really big companies like Coca-Cola, Nike, Pepsi, Barbary, all of the major marks, you catch my drift. All of those are using the circle R. Why? Because they already have a registered trademark. That means that an attorney on their behalf has submitted an application to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and they got that certificate, which allows them to be able to use that circle R at the end of their name. What that means is that nobody else is going to be able to use that name that they've registered in that category for which they have registered it. So, but there's a step before that. What happens if your application is in progress and you want to put other people on notice that you have registered this trademark? So that's where the TM comes in. The TM is simply the letter T and the letter M, and it's usually in the upper right-hand corner of the name. The TM is meant to put other people on notice that you have not necessarily registered the name yet, but that you are using it in a particular category and you are using it in commerce. So it's essentially putting the world on notice that this is the name that you want to protect, but you haven't necessarily submitted an application for registration, or maybe you have, and it's a pending application. Okay, so again, you would use TM if you haven't registered it or you haven't gotten your certificate of registration yet. So lastly, I want to touch on a service mark. You might have already seen these two letters together, an S and an M, and they're usually in the same place where you'll find a T and an M. They're in the top right-hand corner of a name. So service marks are applicable to businesses that are in the service-based industry. So these types of industries are usually not product-based. I'll give you some examples of what I mean. So if you are a massage therapist, let's say Massage Envy, or just some of the larger chains, even if you're a massage therapist, if you're using a name already that you have not registered, but you're interested in protecting, you would use an S and an M. Why? Because you are in the service-based industry. Your service is providing massages. If you're an insurance agent or an insurance agency, you are in the business of providing insurance. If you are an airline, any of the major airlines, those are service-based businesses as well. So before they actually received a registration certificate, they could have possibly been using the SM to protect the name until they receive that certificate. So to recap on this video, the SM is for service-based industries and people who have not received a trademark registration certificate for their service-based business, which could be anything from a massage therapist, insurance agent, airline, and they could have already submitted an application, but they're still waiting for it to be returned. So if you want to protect that name and you're in a service-based industry, then you would use the SM. If you are in the business of selling goods, actual products, if you have an online e-commerce store, then you would protect the name by putting a TM at the top right corner of the name. You can use the TM until you receive the trademark registration certificate, or you can use it to protect the name until you find out whether this business is gaining enough traction for you to actually submit an application to the USPTO. And then lastly, you have the circle R, which is what you've probably seen everywhere. As I mentioned, large corporations, large businesses will usually have this mark, this circle R, prominently displayed on their mark to put people on notice that it is a protected name which you cannot use. So at the end of this video, I'm going to list the differences between all three with examples just for reference. And if you guys like this video, then subscribe and say something in the comments about what you like.